everybody. It's Mr. Wagstaff. How's it going? All right. So today we got really cool stuff. You're going to like this today. So we're going to start talking about how America adapts to this idea that we have hydrogen bombs and like everybody can die. We don't do a great job of it. We put plans in place, but we'll talk about it. We'll also talk about tensions with us and Russia and how that escalated. So cool stuff to talk about today. Now, where we are in history is we are in the 1950s. All right. So World War II ends in 1945. We've already had the Korean War. Everybody's developed hydrogen bombs. So in the 1950s, our president at the time is Dwight Eisenhower. So Dwight Eisenhower became president after World War II, all right, after Harry Truman. So he is going to come out and he's going to be president in 1952. He's going to serve 2 terms. So 1952 to 1960, Eisenhower is the guy in charge, all right. So a lot of things are going to happen in the 1950s, and Dwight Eisenhower is the president during that time. So Dwight Eisenhower becomes the president in large part because of name recognition. There were a lot of fantastic generals in World War II. Dwight Eisenhower is probably the most famous of those generals. Even though George Marshall did a fantastic job and he was the top general under FDR, and he had the Marshall Plan, was Secretary of State and all that, Dwight Eisenhower becomes the most famous. Now, keep in mind, MacArthur, he's already been fired, so it takes him out of the running here. Patton and Omar Bradley, they're more like fighting type generals. Dwight Eisenhower, not only did he leave America to victory over Hitler, all right, he was in charge of the entire world's military. So not only is Eisenhower well respected in America, he's already well known worldwide. So Dwight Eisenhower, based on the men that were available, if you're going to pick a winning general from a war that we win, which is common, Dwight Eisenhower is the most logical one. So Dwight Eisenhower comes in and he becomes the president. Now, here's what's interesting to understand about Eisenhower, and this is a ongoing thing with presidents that were at one point generals that seems counterintuitive, but it is common. Generals who were in the war, right? Typically, our presidents that were generals were in a big war somewhere. When they become president, you would think that, hey, this guy wants to go to war all the time. That's actually not the case. It's actually the opposite. Generals have seen war, and they see how horrific it can be on the front lines and what it does, all right? Generals usually, as leaders in America, aggressively want to prevent war and not, by any means necessary, do not go to war. Now, we're in a society in the 1950s where Russia is just poking us with a stick, and we're poking Russia with a stick. It's like war's like going to happen. Eisenhower's actual biggest deterrent to him was his desire to not go to war. Didn't want to have anything to do with war, personally. He knew that was a weakness and viewed as a weakness in the 1950s because you couldn't show a non-desire to go to war if need be. So what he does is he surrounds himself with war hawks, people like John Foster Dulles, all right? This guy, like John Foster Dulles, and we won't necessarily talk about him a whole bunch, but John Foster Dulles is Secretary of State and desperately wants to nuke somebody. Like, just let me blow somebody up. So Eisenhower himself does not want to go to war at all, while he purposely surrounds himself with people that do. So you'll hear it 2 ways. And the reason I want to explain this as we get started here is because sometimes it seems contradictory. You'll hear how Eisenhower didn't want to go to war, but the Eisenhower administration used this idea of brinkmanship that we're getting ready to talk about, which means we almost nuke everybody. Those seem contradictory, but they're not. Because while Eisenhower himself did not want to go to war, he purposely made his administration, means him and everybody that works for him, a very aggressive administration. If he wasn't there, we would have nuked everybody for some reason at some point. He's the one that's kind of holding back this tidal wave. He puts himself in that position. And I guess looking back on it, it worked, but we got so close. There's so many crazy things that happened. So while Eisenhower is president, there's this term called brinkmanship. We go to the very brink of nuclear war all the time for any reason. Hey, somebody stepped on your sneakers. Nuke them. Hey, they messed with the ship. Nuke them. They talked about your mama. Nuke them. Like, brinkmanship, we're going to the very brink, the very edge of nuclear war all the time. Terrifying for not only the American population, but the world population. Because if you do this, all right, if you actually drop a hydrogen bomb on somebody, it's about guaranteed that it's going to turn into World War III and everybody's going to blow up and die. Not good. So, brinkmanship is a term used in Eisenhower's time in office. He does create the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. So the CIA is designed on spying on other countries. Like, we send out spies to other countries. By doing this, all right, and sending out the CIA, we are usually breaking a bunch of laws, but we just try not to get caught. Do you know what the difference in the CIA and the FBI is? So the CIA basically spies on stuff in other countries. The FBI spies on stuff inside America, all right? Present day, we have another department called the Department of Homeland Security. They basically are over the CIA and FBI. They can go in the country, out of the country, and all this other stuff. Because the CIA, once something comes into the country, they have to pass it off to FBI. Homeland Security doesn't have to worry about that. They can just track individual people wherever they want to. CIA, big picture stuff outside the country. What country is a threat to us? FBI is big picture inside, like what regions in America could be causing problems, like and stuff like that. Homeland Security is like a special forces unit that doesn't have as many rules as the CIA or the FBI. But at this point, FBI exists, and now the CIA exists under Eisenhower. Then, this is worth mentioning because of our current issues in the Middle East. There's this thing called the Eisenhower Doctrine. Eisenhower tries to tell the Middle East that we got their back. We ain't going to let Russia mess with them. Russia is trying to go into the Middle East and tell them, hey, we got your back. We're not going to let America mess with you. Both of us, Russia and America, want to control the Middle East. Why? Oil. All right. We both want to control the Middle East. However, you know who doesn't want to be controlled? The Middle East. The Middle East, collective middle fingers to both Russia and America. Absolutely doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Like, nope, leave us alone. We don't want your involvement. Well, we got your back. We got your back. We're going to protect you from these other bad guys. And they're like, no. We've been here for thousands of years. Leave us alone. The more involvement we try to have in the Middle East, us and Russia, or really any outside country, usually is met with hostility. But the Eisenhower Doctrine is an official policy that we will prevent the Middle East from getting taken over by communism. And this is something that the Middle East doesn't really want. And I'll give you an example of a story you may not be familiar with that happens in the 1980s, about 30 years after this. Russia invades Afghanistan. Guess what? Afghanistan won. All right. And you could claim that Afghanistan beat us when we went in there because we left and nothing has really changed. Same thing that happens. You can blow them up. You can do whatever they want, but they ain't going to listen to you. That's what happened to Russia. It's what happens to America when we went in there after 9/11. The region is very resistant to outside influence, even though we create the Eisenhower Doctrine at the time to try to have more influence in the region. All right. So, and you're going to like this. During the 1950s, this was common. If you may have grandparents, maybe grandparents, if they were school age in the 1950s, they would do these bomb drills. Now, everybody's terrified of the hydrogen bomb. If the bomb drops, how do you survive? Well, if the bomb drops, what you do is, and this is what they tell school kids, if you just get under your desk, bomb can't get you. Just a thing. Can't happen. Kids, they'll do these bomb drills. They're like, all right, we're doing a nuclear bomb test today. And all the kids get under the desk like, and you're safe. Yay. All right. And you're like, how in the world is a desk going to save them? People love to make fun of these videos. I'm going to show you a video of a training video for them of teaching the kids. It's like, it's as funny as you think it would be, trying to be serious, but it's funny. You need to understand this as you watch it, as dumb as it sounds and as dumb as this looks. People aren't stupid back in the 1950s. They know this is not protecting the kids from a nuclear bomb. It's not. It's not going to. Here's why they do it. All right. Let me back up. If a nuclear bomb goes off outside of a school building, all right, Not only is this not going to save you, there's nothing you can do. Like, if I was up here in front of the class teaching, like, and today, kids, and it's like atomic bomb goes off, like, poof. It's not like, oh, I'm on fire and it hurts so much. That's not what happens. What happens is the bomb goes off and I'm like, all right, kids, today we're going to... Nothingness. It just ends. Like, it's just, whoosh, you're gone. There's no time to react. There's nothing to do anything. So why in the world do they teach kids to get under their desk if a bomb goes off when there's nothing you can do for it? Here's why. They do this for kids in elementary school. I can't imagine they do this in high school because that would be a complete waste of time. So do the kids have any control over this? No. So what the issue is, what's important to understand here is the kids live in fear at all times. The kids are afraid of a nuclear bomb going off, and because they're afraid of it, they can't function in their everyday life. They just tell the kids, if you get under your desk, you'll be safe. By just telling the kids that, the kids believe it. And so they're like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about an atomic bomb because if it goes off, I'll just get under my desk and I'll be safe. And by doing this, you're alleviating fear in those kids. So the kids can have a normal life growing up because whether a bomb goes off and kills them or not, they have no control over it. So this is more of a pacifier. These drills were used to basically not have kids grow up in fear. You tell them, hey, everything's going to be fine, and it's fine. The adults knew it wasn't. All right. But we did this. I say we, put myself as an adult back then, would do this for children to let them know there's nothing to be afraid of because they have no control over it anyway. So this is why they did the bomb test. All right, was basically just so the kids didn't live in a state of fear where they believed they had some control over their own safety, and in actuality they did not. Luckily, we never had to deal with this. But so I have a video clip here. It's a couple minutes, but it's really good. Over them teaching little kids in the 1950s on how to survive in a nuclear bomb attack. And
and Father, he did what we all must learn to do. And you, and you, and you. Duck and Father.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it. So you and I don't have shells to crawl into like Bert the Turtle, so we have to cover up in our own way. First, you duck, and then you cover. And very tightly, you cover the back of your neck, your face. Duck and cover underneath a table or desk or anything else close by. Betty is asking her teacher, how can we tell when the atomic bomb may explode? And the teacher is explaining that there are two kinds of attack, with warning and without any warning. We think that most of the time we will be warned before the bomb explodes, so there will be time for us to get into our homes, schools, or some other safe place. Our civil defense workers and our men in uniform will do everything they can to warn us before enemy planes can bring a bomb near us. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be. You might be out playing at home when the warning comes. Then be sure to get into the house fast, where your parents have fixed a safe place for you to go. If you are not close to home when you hear the warning, go to the nearest safe cover. Know where you are to go, or ask an older person to help you. You know the places marked with the S sign? They're safe places to go when you hear the alarm. If there is a warning, you will hear it before the bomb explodes. But sometimes, and this is very, very important, sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning. Then the first thing we would know about it would be the flash. And that means duck and cover fast, wherever you are. There's no time to look around or wait. But no matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know what to do.
Old
Here's
Tony.
Tony going to his Cub Scout meeting. Tony knows the bomb can explode any time of the year, day or night. He's ready for it. Duck and cover. Atta boy, Tony. That flash means act fast. We must know how to duck and cover in the school bus or in any other bus or streetcar. Duck and cover. Don't wait. Duck away from the windows fast. The glass may break and fly through the air and cut you. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. This family knows what to do, just as your own family should. They know that even but the most important thing of all is to duck and cover yourself, especially where your clothes do not cover you. No matter where we live, in the city or the country, we must be ready all the time for the atomic bomb. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do, duck and cover. The next important thing to do after that is to stay covered until the danger is over.
Might want to also turn off your tractor. That could turn out bad. While to us this seems silly because that's not going to help anything, understand we're showing this to little kids so that they believe that there is a way of remaining safe and they don't have to live in perpetual fear as a child. This is a picture talking about brinkmanship. If you're always going to the edge, you got to be careful. You could fall off. So our constantly threatening people with nuking them really makes people uncomfortable, understandably. Don't worry about that picture. I am purposely skipping that. All right. So the Warsaw Pact. We had talked about this previously when we talked about the United Nations. So we had created America NATO, which is our little gang inside the United Nations. The Warsaw Pact is Russia's little gang inside the United Nations. It's basically just the Soviet Union, so I don't know why they need to come up with another name like Warsaw Pact, but they do, and it's what it's called. They get real salty, all right, when, let me show you here. This right here is going to be West Germany that we own, meaning America. All right. So this here is East Germany owned by Russia. When we allow West Germany, all right, to join NATO, all right, so we let half that country join NATO, it really ticks off Russia, and they respond by creating the Warsaw Pact. It's interesting how the Warsaw Pact members include Switzerland. Switzerland's like, it's a whole side story on that one. I don't understand why I put this map in here. What is this map representing? Don't know. Moving on. All right. This is big time. All right. So this story has some moving parts that you need to understand. Stalin is the leader of Russia. All right. He's killed. Still, it's the 1950s. He's still there. He's been there for like 30 years now. All right. So he came in the 20s. It's now the 1950s. So Stalin, he's the leader of, I hope I said Russia, not Germany, because my brain gets weird when I'm just talking to myself. So Russia, run by Stalin. People in Russia, they respect Stalin. They're also terrified of him. The man's paranoid. He's always worried that somebody's going to take him over, that something crazy is going to happen. So everybody's kind of on eggshells around Stalin all the time, especially his advisors. So his advisors know this like yearly group picture that takes place downstairs usually doesn't work out well for them, because they're like, why are we all like only been here 1 year? Like, what happened to all the previous people that used to have this job? And they're like, don't ask questions. So what happens is one day in the 1950s, his advisors are terrified of him. He's extremely paranoid. You don't know when you're going to get taken out. So he's basically sitting here at the head of a table, all right, and he's got like 50 advisors, all way out in front of him, all the way down his table, having a big meeting. And so he's here in the 1950s. It's just him and his advisors in like a, official communist Bolshevik party political meeting. And he's just going ballistic, which he usually does. Like, "Rah, I'm angry about something. Like, let's just kill more people." So midway through his daily yelling at his advisors, he has a heart attack. Like, grabs his chest, like, oh, like, and all 50 advisors there are shocked because this is Stalin, the man of steel. Like, he doesn't have a heart attack, and he grabs his chest and he's like, I'm having a heart attack, and everybody's just frozen. They don't know what to do. And he's like, call my doctor. And he looks over the guy next to him, who's sitting next to him. And there's a phone on the desk, and he's like, call my doctor. And the guy's like frozen and doesn't know what to do. He's just like staring at him. And Stalin's like starting to collapse. And he's like, call my doctor. And the guy's just sitting there, and he just keeps sitting there. And the other 50 guys, they just sit there and watch him. And they're like, he's like, call my doctor. And Stalin himself reaches for the phone. So as Stalin is reaching for the phone, the guy over there that hasn't responded, he has like the phone. This is back when it was like a rotary phone. You had like a cord connected to it. He grabs the back of the phone and just slides it away from him. And Stalin like goes down, giving the guy the stare down, and dies right in front of all his advisors, giving a big speech. They wait like 5 solid minutes before somebody's like, hey, somebody call his doctor. So he comes in, Stalin's pronounced dead, but he dies right in front of his advisors, and they don't really help him. It kind of shows how, well, on one angle, nobody's trying to overthrow him because he does run the country solidly, consistently. I don't know if you say fair, he's consistent. I don't know if that counts as fair. But on the other hand, when he's like about to die, nobody's going to help him. So Stalin is dead. The whole world finds out Stalin is dead. Now keep in mind, this is the Soviet Union. You have no idea what happens on the other side of the Iron Curtain. So when Stalin dies, there is a huge question here over who is going to take over now. There is, Stalin has been very aggressive, very doing his own thing for a while. So who's going to take over for Stalin? Nobody knows, all right? Because nobody knows anybody else in Russia. We find out real soon that the guy that, I guess the advisors voted him to be the new leader of the Bolshevik Party and therefore over Russia and over the Soviet Union, is a guy named Nikita Khrushchev. So Nikita Khrushchev is going to take over Russia when Stalin dies. So everybody is really concerned about, okay, well, is this dude crazy too? Like, is he going? Because this guy is now in charge of a bunch of hydrogen bombs in a very tense situation around the world. How is he going to handle it? So Nikita Khrushchev goes on worldwide TV and he says, so this is the only way we get any information is like when they go on worldwide TV. Otherwise, they don't communicate. Like, there's no other way of seeing things that's happening in Russia. And he says, I too believe that communism will take over the world. We're like, oh, this is no different. He's like, but I think it'll do so peacefully. When he says that, the whole world's like, yes. Let's not die. Let's talk about this. And he's like, hey, Eisenhower, me and you, we need to get together and talk about some stuff. Let's not keep going down this dangerous road that we're going down. And so Eisenhower's like watching his TV. He's like, cool. And Nikita Khrushchev's like, all right, I'm going to give you a call. We're going to open up communication so we can, figure out how not to die. Everybody's like, this is great. So Nikita Khrushchev calls Eisenhower. They get on the phone together. And he's like, hey, yeah, let's set up a peace talks. All right. Kind of figure out where we all stand, not to accidentally cause World War III. Here's what I want to do, though. All right. We're going to set this up for 2 weeks. And Eisenhower's like, great. We'd love to talk to you. And he says, all right, now, and this is what Nikita Khrushchev says, is important. He says, let's do this as a sign of good faith. How about for the next 2 weeks, we don't spy on each other? And Eisenhower's like, sure, not a problem. And Nikita's like, no, for real. We're not going to spy on each other for 2 weeks. Out of good conscience and a sign of good faith, we don't spy on each other. Are you cool with that? Eisenhower's like, of course I am. Nikita Khrushchev is not convinced. He's like, all right, I'm trusting you here. No spying for 2 weeks. It's like, sure. He's like, I'll see you in 2 weeks then. Hangs up the phone. Now, Eisenhower's like, why is this guy so worried about spying? So here's the situation. We have these planes in America, and they're called U-2 planes. Like the band, it's up here at the top. These U-2 planes, let's see what I got here. This here's a picture of Nikita Khrushchev. All right. So we have these planes called U-2 planes. These are super advanced planes. They fly up way, way, way in the sky. You can't see them. Like, they're out of the stratosphere, like, literally, I think. They're way up high, so you can't see them. You can't detect them on radar. They're basically invisible. We don't have satellites or anything yet. So this is how we've been spying on Russia. We've been flying over Russia, right? And we have these really powerful cameras on the bottom of these U-2 planes, and we take pictures of Russia all the time. Well, Russia has no idea that they're there. So we're just going to keep using them. So even though we said we weren't going to spy on them, well, they don't know, ain't going to hurt them, all right? The reason that we're convinced Russia doesn't know that they're there because they're not detectable on radar. Like, once they're in the sky, there's no way of knowing that they're there. What we, America, don't realize is Russia's radars are a whole lot better than ours. They know they're up there. They've been seeing them up there, and there's nothing they can do about it because they don't have a plane that can go get it. However, right before Nikita Khrushchev says, out of sign of good faith, don't come spy on us, they had just developed a gun that can shoot them down. So he said, don't spy on us. Sign of good faith. Eisenhower's like, of course I won't. Guess what he's going to keep doing? U-2 planes. So, about 2 days later, the Soviet Union shoots one down over Moscow. Shoots one down. And it crashes in Russia. Nikita Khrushchev calls Eisenhower. It's like, Eisenhower, you said you weren't going to spy on us. And Eisenhower's like, I didn't spy on you. And he's like, no, you did. You've been having these dang planes up in the sky taking pictures of it, and we're tired of it. We shot one down. Eisenhower's silent for a second. He's like, wasn't our plane. I don't know what you're talking about. And Nikita Khrushchev's like, what do you mean? It's got an American flag on the side of it. It's your plane. And Eisenhower's like, nah, must be somebody else's plane that put our flag on it. It's not ours. And they're like, your pilot is wearing an American pilot's uniform. All right. Eisenhower's like, nothing I can. I don't know who that guy is. Have no idea. Like, maybe if he had survived, then you could have asked him. But he's clearly dead, so I don't know. And he's like, no, he's not dead. No. He parachuted out. He's right here. His name is Francis Gary Powers. Francis, talk to your boss. And Francis Gary Powers goes on the phone. He's like, they got me, boss. Sorry. He gives it back. So they've clearly called us, like 100%. Eisenhower here, instead of just being like, you got me, or whatever, he says, screw you, and like hangs up the phone, goes on national TV and be like, yeah, we were spying on them because they deserve it because they're a bunch of turd muffins or something along those lines. And Nikita Khrushchev's like, well, fine, peace talks are off. Literally because two old guys, and really this is Eisenhower's fault more than Russia's fault in this situation, won't admit that they did anything wrong. Cold War is back on. Like, no peace talks. We hate each other. So the U-2 incident, which is what this is called, where this plane gets shot down and this American pilot gets captured, is absolutely insane. Really just jacks up world tensions again. It's really rough. Interesting enough. So Francis Gary Powers is held in a Russian prison for a year and then sent back to America. All right. Now, how do you think he's treated? If you're like, man, I bet they tortured him and beat him every day, you'd be like what most people assumed was happening in Russia. That's not what happened. So Russia knows they're not going to kill this guy because that will possibly lead to World War III. So they're going to release him back to America. So what they do is they put him in like basically like a swanky hotel with like all the caviar that he can have and vodka, which is both of those are relatively common in Russia, not for the average people, but for they produce a lot of it. Give him everything that he wants, all this stuff, and it's like his jail cell is like an apartment. They treat them fantastic, and then they're going to release him back to America. The reason they do this is they know as soon as he gets back to America, everybody's going to be like, how are you treated in Russia? And he's going to be like, man, they're so rich and awesome and great. Oh, it's awesome. So this is why they treat Francis Gary Powers so good. Dude gains like 10 pounds while a prisoner. Like, you don't gain weight when you're in prison. But he does. And gets back. He says, he's like, look, I knew, because to be this level of that Francis Gary Powers is you got to be really, really elite. He understood immediately what was happening, that they're trying to make a show of it. And he said he could tell by the guard's shoes that for the entire year, the guard wore the same shoes that were worn out. And so it was all a show, and he knew it. But he was like, I was going to play along. They kept giving me all the food. I'm like, oh, you guys are so great. And so when they released them back, he said, yeah, they did treat me really good, but it was clearly a show. This is not how typical prisoners are treated in Russia. But the U-2 incident really, really, really increases tensions between the United States and Russia. Got a video clip here of this.
The biggest worry for most Americans was Russia and Nikita Khrushchev. When the Soviet Union shot down a U-2 spy plane in May of 1960, 2 weeks before a scheduled summit meeting with Eisenhower, Khrushchev launched a vitriolic attack upon the U.S. At first, Eisenhower denied knowledge of the flight, then reversed himself, defending American action.
Placed in jeopardy.
This is a picture of the U-2 plane that got shot down in Russia. Notice that the U-2 plane here and all this debris, they've taken the plane, pulled it into Moscow, taken all the pictures that were on that camera and printed them, and then like put them up on boards and stuff around here. They're showing the people in Russia how America is spying on you. This is very effective in Russian propaganda, because now every time somebody gets in the shower or anything like that, they think America's spying on them. Basically, to turn the Russian people more against America and make America out to be the bad guy. And it's kind of hard to not view America. We kind of maybe messed up here and stopped peace talks before they could happen. But again, you had to take a hard stance, because either side, if they'd given an inch, the other side would have taken a mile. So, it just is what it is. All right, that is as far as we're going to get today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.